What if hip-hop never existed? Question. Do you think there'd be as many heads screaming out, stop snitching? What if Adam and Eve ain't eat the fruit? You think we'd be able to see the truth? Or what if Albert Einstein ain't think of the nuke? Or Smith & Wesson ain't teach us to shoot? You think there'd be as many plays out there if there was no boost? Matter of fact, what if white man hung off a noose? Would it still be cool to say nigga? Or maybe we would make six figures? Or would we wanna be crackers? And all the whites would be rappers? What if Martin Luther King survived? You think the New Orleans flood would've caused him to drop and die? I wonder what if and see what is. Stand back from the picture and ask yourself why. What if life wasn't all you thought? What if everything you knew was gone? What if we switched to rights and wrongs? You think you'd change your route to the road we on? What if life wasn't all you thought? What if everything you knew was gone? What if we switched to rights and wrongs? You think you'd change your route to the road we on? If Christopher Wallace never got murked, how much money would Sean Carter be worth? What if Tupac never got hit with the flame? Would the game still have change filled with these lames? What if Jabari wasn't speeding down the street? What if the bullet Malcolm sent never hit Zeke? A black guy dropped off at the house instead of the stop? Or Ali never got bopped by the cops? What if the little homie EZ didn't die? Stand back from the picture and ask yourself why. What if life wasn't all you thought? What if everything you knew was gone? What if we switched to rights and wrongs? You think you'd change your route to the road we on? What if life wasn't all you thought? What if everything you knew was gone? What if we switched to rights and wrongs? You think you'd change your route to the road we on? I don't know. What if? What if? What if?
to the fourth branch program. Glad you can make it. I am MD. This program is dedicated exclusively for those with common sense, a spirit of patriotism, and a determination for a more perfect union. Stay tuned as we begin the discussion of a very important, interesting, and enlightening topic. Hope to hear from you soon. Happy listening.
Hello everyone, I am MD and this is the fourth branch program. Welcome. It is a foolish and even a dangerous endeavor trying to educate fools. But the risk of not trying is much greater, not only for this generation, but for many future generations. I mentioned here in this program many times that America is in crisis. It has been for several decades now. But the past 2 years, we have seen an acceleration in the erosion of our democracy and the decline of what were once the values we've held deeply. It is not the fault of just one individual. It is not a scenario which started with the presidency of Donald Trump. However, with the complicity of the Republican legislators who are more concerned about their own political career over the loyalty to the nation, and organizations such as Fox, which are more interested in filling their coffers, even to the detriment of the country, future generations may not have much of a country to be proud of. Donald Trump expressed the sentiment of most Republican leaders when he reasoned he will not be around to repay the debt his administration has contributed to increase for no justifiable reason. It is a grave danger to be ignorant in the age of Trump. In 1996, a small network by the name of Fox News was launched with just 17 million viewers. Today, with over 100 million people watching regularly, Fox has become the greatest threat to our democracy, constantly bombarding the airwaves with false information, distortion of facts, and outright lies presented to its audience as news. Fox has created an army of blissful ignorance. According to a survey, 82% of Fox viewers are ignorant of facts and the truth. To keep millions of people in ignorance not only prevents democracy from flourishing, but it also clears the path to authoritarianism, to dictatorship. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Let me finish by saying that democracy cannot survive in an environment where truth and facts do not matter. At Fox, truth and facts do not matter. Indeed, democracy in America is in jeopardy. It is a crisis the country can no longer ignore. we have a very special program. We will continue the conversation of race relation in America. We left last time talking about walking away from the Civil War bridge. But today we will make references to two specific scenarios, contemporaneous scenarios, to illustrate some of the points, some of the detail that we have been debating during the Civil War discussion. And of course, we will look at why ignorance is indeed the biggest threat to our democracy. It is necessary and important to continue talking about those topics which are extremely important for our country. First, we have, of course, the erosion of our democracy, and we have racism, which is still rampant across the nation. Although we will introduce and continue to talk about other topics and different aspects of what could be done in order to perfect the union, but those two topics are prominent in our program, and we will continue to bring examples. We will continue to debate different aspects of those topics until such time when we can say with a certain or high degree of certainty that we have indeed made progress in the race relation, and we have started to turn the corner in remedying the problem with our democracy. I'll be right back.
Hi, I am MD, host of the Fourth Branch program. War on Blacks is a topic added to the Fourth Branch programming in order to discuss the intricacies, the complexities of race relation in America. The goal is threefold. 1. To bring attention to the various forms of prejudice, discrimination, and racism in the country. 2. To expose the undeniable presence of such in every aspect of life and every corner of our society. 3. To extricate us all from the ignorance, the indifference, or the complicity. The ultimate objective is to make the discussions of those issues, racism, prejudice, discrimination, a normal part of our lives. Then, and only then, will we as a society be able to eradicate the problem. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Abraham Joshua Heschel exclaimed, "Racism is man's gravest threat to man, the maximum of hatred for the minimum of reason." Join me in the journey to restore equality. Or would you please get out of the way? Thank you.
If you join us for the first time, welcome to the Fourth Branch program. War on Blacks is a topic in which we discuss race relation in America. Now, if you have not been watching this program, you have not been following us, you probably at a disadvantage, because we have started this program a couple of months ago, and there are plenty of video already produced which are archived in the People Branch YouTube channel. Now, if you head to the People Branch YouTube channel, you will find that we started the conversation and took a trip back to the era, to the Civil War era, to the slavery time, in order to understand the dynamic, the interaction between blacks and whites. Now, because you have, well, if you have not been watching this program, or you did not see any previous video, let me set the stage for you. The banner War on Blacks was not chosen for sensationalism. It was chosen to point to one simple fact: casualties. Because in war, there are casualties. And war on blacks, casualties have been mounting from the time they were apprehended in Africa to becoming slaves here in America. And even beyond slavery, casualties on the black side have been mounting. Accumulation of casualties have never stopped. We have physical casualties, emotional casualties, psychological casualties, and financial casualties. And today, we will talk about a very specific case, which again makes the point of casualties mounting on the black side. And casualties that could have been avoided, casualties that needed not be. But because our society condones the actions of whites, and as such, they have no incentive whatsoever to stop. And the example we're about to discuss today will illustrate that point once again. Now, I have had many conversations with blacks who seem to believe that we have had a lot of progress since slavery. As I mentioned yesterday, progress in race relation in America is very relative to the period. But progress, as you would define it, has not been. As a matter of fact, from my perspective, it's been worse than before. We could have condemned individuals who practiced racism and discrimination in the past because they were either illiterate, they were ignorant, they were non-college educated, they didn't know any better. You could have come up with a number of, well, not justifiable, but a number of reasons. Today, the United States of America is fitted with some of the most renowned universities. There are schools everywhere in every corner of our society. And yet, blacks' casualties continue to mount. Society continue to shrug it off, and those who are out to continue the same practice that were those practices that were acceptable during slavery, they have no incentive to stop, because we as a society continue to simply let it be. You may recall that we mentioned that during slavery, slaves who tried to escape would be either captured and harshly punished or just shot. And even some of those who escaped, when they managed to capture them, they would execute them publicly. And society was just fine with that. Society had no problem with blacks being executed hung just for trying to escape slavery. Today, society makes a semblance of justice by bringing the perpetrator to a courtroom and say, let's find out what happened. The outcome is exactly the same it was during slavery. The white men who gunned down the blacks walk away. It happened in every corner, in every state in our country. It has happened over and over and over to a point that it becomes unbelievable that we as a society continue to condone those individuals to serve in an institution, an agency of the government, which supposedly primary job is to serve and protect. What an irony. Primary job is to serve and protect. And yet, blacks have never felt protected by police. Police presence anywhere blacks are is a danger for the blacks. Period. There has never been any time when a black see a police officer and feel confident, well, everything is okay. Because it's not. Such was the case yesterday, well, actually on February 9th, for a gentleman by the name of Willie McCoy in California. He's a rapper. Well, he was a rapper. We seem to be having some difficulty finding the information about Willie McCoy, but we will come back to continue the conversation about that particular case, because it is important to make that case. Now, we haven't abandoned the conversation about walking solely away from the bridge, from the Civil War bridge, in order to establish the pattern, to establish the predicament that blacks have been living in since beyond slavery. But as we mentioned in this program, we will try to tie this particular conversation with current events in order to make the point, to illustrate the point of what has been going on, especially for blacks in the United States of America. As it stands, nothing has changed. Blacks were gunned down during slavery. No one needed to account for. No one needed to pay a price for. Today, blacks are gunned down. Well, what's the difference? Where is the progress that all blacks seems to be talking about? I have yet to understand the definition of progress when talking to individuals about race relation in America.
Hi, I am MD, host of the Fourth Branch program. War on Blacks is a topic added to the Fourth Branch programming in order to discuss the intricacies, the complexities of race relation in America. The goal is threefold. 1. To bring attention to the various forms of prejudice, discrimination, and racism in the country. 2. To expose the undeniable presence of such in every aspect of life and every corner of our society. 3. To extricate us all from the ignorance, the indifference, or the complicity. The ultimate objective is to make the discussions of those issues, racism, prejudice, discrimination, a normal part of our lives. Then, and only then, will we as a society be able to eradicate the problem. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Abraham Joshua Heschel exclaimed, "Racism is man's gravest threat to man, the maximum of hatred for the minimum of reason. Join me in the journey to restore equality. Or would you please get out of the way? Thank you.
The picture you're currently looking at is the picture of Willie McCoy. He was a rapper. Well, he's now dead. Now, according to report, Mr. McCoy was at a drive-through, or I'm not certain as to whether he ordered food from Taco Bell, but it was on a drive-through. And I guess employees from Taco Bell called the police to report an individual who had the car on the drive-through, and the person was simply there, and they didn't want to approach the person, and of course they called the police, which is fine up to this point. And when the police came, according to the report, and here's what they said, that in California, Vallejo or Vallejo, I'm not sure exactly, it's a Spanish name, whether they pronounce it Vallejo or Vallejo. Regardless, Mr. McCoy was in the car, and according to what the police officers say, when they got there, they tried to open the door, and they found that the door was locked. And they didn't say how they, Mr. McCoy, from sleeping, because that's their account of what happened. Presumably, Mr. McCoy was sleeping, and they placed a car in front of his car, and they placed another police car in the back of the car. So, in other words, to prevent him from fleeing the scene, or to prevent him from backing up or from going forward. Now, the report says that after the police did that, now the only thing that happened next is they called for backup. That's their words. They say they called for backup, so that was two of them. They called for backup, and by the time that Mr. McCoy would be losing his life, there were 6 police officers on the scene. Now, I want you to listen very carefully, because one of the things that always happen here in the United States of America, whenever it comes to blacks, is to simply try to explain or justify what I call today. Well, actually, I've been writing about that as police officer criminals with a badge, because to me, that's all they are at this point, especially towards the black community. Police officers, most of them, I should say, are nothing other than criminals with badges. And they prove it once again in the case of Willie McCoy. Now, according to the police officers, of course, they blocked the car both in the front and the back, and they said that, well, they looked and they saw a gun on the lap of Mr. McCoy. Now, remember, Mr. McCoy was sleeping. So Mr. McCoy, whether he was sleeping or passed out, whatever the case was, but by all account, even according to the individuals from Taco Bell who called 911, it looks like it was someone sleeping at the wheel. That's according to those two reports. We can take for granted that either Mr. McCoy was sleeping or he passed out. But whatever the case was, he wasn't conscious of anything that was going in his surrounding. So what happened next? According to the officers, that Mr. McCoy woke up. And when he woke up, based on what the officers say, they saw or they felt that he was reaching for his gun. And all 6 officers empty their weapons on Mr. McCoy. All 6 of them. Now, first, I don't buy this account that Mr. McCoy was reaching for his gun. Because, well, if he were asleep, if he passed out, that means, if you think about it from a human perspective, if you got tired, you slept at the wheel, and then you wake up hearing noise around you, and now those police officers saying that we gave several commands and he didn't respond to those commands. Now we know our police officers gave command. They're yelling at you as if you a child and you're supposed to quickly respond to the orders as if you're a child. Now they do not do the same thing to white individuals. I've seen it firsthand. I've witnessed it firsthand. They do not approach whites the same way that they approach black. They treat blacks as if the same way that white slave owners used to yell, scream, and you're supposed to obey because they, the masters. So I can already see the scenario for Mr. McCoy. So they yell, they scream. Now, he's an individual who was asleep or passed out and woke up maybe because of the noise that the police were doing. And now, when he woke up, you can imagine that he was already disoriented. And the next thing that happened, all 6 officers emptied their weapons on Mr. McCoy. Because, well, I forget to tell you the best part of the story. Because their defense, we were afraid for our lives. That is the defense across the board by all police officers who execute a black individual. We were afraid. Now, you don't have to be a police officer. You don't even have to have been in the force for you to see a scenario like this and say, okay, how would I handle that? The police officer could have used the horn in their cars away from Mr. McCoy's car to try to wake him up without putting themselves in danger if indeed they were afraid. They could have done that. 6 of them in 3 patrol cars. They were afraid for their lives. Now here's how someone lost his life for no reason whatsoever. And you can rest assured that those officers, most likely, it's going to take some time because while they're investigating, they're going to find out what really happened, and we're going to go to court, and it's a guaranteed they all will be back on the street to kill another black man. This is the state of affairs for blacks on the street of America. This is just an execution. You can spin it 1,000 ways. You have 6 police officers. Not a single one of them was smart enough to do the smart thing to wake the guy up. Because the only way they see out of that is to empty their weapon. All 6 officers, they empty their weapon on Mr. McCoy. Mr. McCoy didn't pull a gun. Yes, he may have had a gun. He didn't pull a gun, he didn't point it at the police, but he lost his life because guess what? We were afraid for our lives. What the hell are those individuals doing in the force if they're that afraid for their life? What are they doing on the street? That's the question that ought to be asked. What are they doing on the street? If they're so afraid of their lives, and if they're so dumb and not to be able to handle predicament situation that's so simple as such, what the hell are they doing on the street? That's the question that have to be asked. Yes, those individuals, they're nothing else but criminals with badges. They get away with it. They got away with it during slavery because white slave owners could kill blacks and they didn't have to give any account because killing a black was just fine. Today, across the nation, police officers are killing blacks with impunity, and the reason is because every time that police officers kill a black, he expects to walk away free of charge. That's the reason they keep doing it, because society keep giving them a pass. How do you explain 6 police officers getting on a scene and empty their weapon on someone who did not point a gun at them? How do you explain that? There is no way to explain it except that we, the society, has been making it possible, easy for white police officers to simply kill blacks and not to have to worry about anything happening to them. Yes, Willie McCoy just got executed by 6 criminals with badges in California. Yes, when blacks are in presence of police officer, this is no comfort for blacks. Every time a police officer shows up in the presence of a black person, it's more a danger for the black than feeling safe. Because our society is responsible for that. And we've been talking about it. It's called institutionalized racism. Because a police officer kill a black, walk away, free of charge. Yes, we look at the situation, it was justified. A police officer kill an unarmed black man, well, we look at it, it was justified. What do you expect? You expect the others to continue in that path because every time it happened, well, it was justified. How do you justify an armed, trained individual killing an unarmed individual as okay? How does society justify that? Again, another black individual lost his life, executed by 6 police officers who emptied their weapons on that black individual, Willie McCoy. We will never know because at this point, well, you know, they're investigating the case. The video they're not going to release because, you know, they want to kind of edit the video and try to find out where they can find a way to edit the video before releasing it. Because what's a big deal? Why don't just release the video if you're so sure that the police officer acted appropriately? No, they have to kind of manipulate the video in order to put out to the public. Yes, police officers, when it comes to blacks, they're nothing other than criminals with badges. Because they never prove themselves to be anything other than criminal with badges. And that is war on blacks in America in the 21st century. For those who are always asking, which war on blacks? I suggest you scour the internet and look at each and every state and see the casualties inflicted on blacks on a daily basis. Yes, there has been a war on blacks, that our society has institutionalized racism to the point that every black that gets killed, it's like slavery all over again. Because it used to be white slave owners, now it's white police officers. They kill blacks, hey, it's just a black. Yes, our society is responsible for it, and it's nothing other than institutionalized racism. Because when that police officer goes in front of a judge who happened to be white, the prosecutor happened to be white, well, it was just a black. That's the predicament for blacks in America. There is no safe way, no safe place for blacks in America. Because every encounter with a white police officer is a possibility that that black individual may lose his life. Because our society makes it so easy for a white police officer to gun down, to execute blacks, and not have a price to pay for it. That's not a story, that's not an assumption, that's not a speculation, that's the daily life, the daily situation, the daily predicament that blacks live under in America.
Hi, I am MD, host of the Fourth Branch program. War on Blacks is a topic added to the Fourth Branch programming in order to discuss the intricacies, the complexities of race relation in America. The goal is threefold. 1. To bring attention to the various forms of prejudice, discrimination, and racism in the country. 2. To expose the undeniable presence of such in every aspect of life and every corner of our society. 3. To extricate us all from the ignorance, the indifference, or the complicity. The ultimate objective is to make the discussions of those issues, racism, prejudice, discrimination, a normal part of our lives. Then, and only then, will we as a society be able to eradicate the problem. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Abraham Joshua Heschel exclaimed, "Racism is man's gravest threat to man, the maximum of hatred for the minimum of reason." Join me in the journey to restore equality. Or would you please get out of the way? Thank you.
In the age of Trump, politics of fear is all that matters. Now, it didn't start with Donald Trump. We already know that. We've been saying that all along. But the situation has been accelerated during the Trump administration, not because of Trump, but because, well, because it provides the cover for the acceleration of the use of politic of fear. You may remember, for instance, that during the Obama tenure as President of the United States, the Republican legislators, leaders in general, use nothing other than fear in order to rally support, in order to figure out a way to pass whatever legislation that they had in mind. And in particular, in reference to the Healthcare Act, aka Obamacare, you may recall, it's a death panel. It's going to kill jobs. It's bad for you. The list went on and on and on. And it was just politics of fear. You know that because during the 2018 midterm election, Republicans realized that now a lot of people, including their own constituent, Republican constituent, have come to understand that Obamacare is actually good for them because it helps to protect them against unscrupulous insurance companies who like to collect money but refuse to protect them against pre-existing conditions. So their own constituent, Republican constituent, finally get to realize that their Republican leaders were lying to them, get them to fear Obamacare, and such walk away from it so that Republicans can get enough support to kill the legislation. Now, there are two problems in this example that I just gave you. That tell me, one, Republicans do not have anything to offer. Yes, Republican leaders, legislators, congressmen, they do not have anything to offer, because the only time you have to scare people away from something without having anything to substitute for it is because you don't have anything. In fact, we can say with 100% certainty they never had anything to offer, because during the 8 years of Obama, well, 6 for the healthcare aspect of the conversation, Republicans tried 62 times. Of course, they know they weren't going to succeed, but that's besides the point. They tried 62 times to repeal Obamacare. But what even more sad than what I just said is the fact they never had anything to replace it. But they were betting on scaring their constituent to stay away from it. That's all they have. They don't have anything to offer. Because if I come to you and I say, this is not good, that is a better choice. Now, even if what I offer you is not necessarily a better choice, but at least I offer you something as an alternative to what I said is not good. But Republican leaders, congressmen, senators, mayors, governors, they don't even care to offer anything. They rely completely on scaring their constituent in order to get anywhere. Now, that's the number one problem. But the second aspect of the problem is the fact that the constituents are so ignorant, so naive, so gullible that they buy it. How do we know that? Well, let's take a look back. Governors of all the Republican states, or most of them, because there are a couple of those states that did accept to take the subsidy offered for Obamacare. But in general, most Republican states that were governed, that had a governor as the governor of the state, completely shielded the state, or shielded the constituent rather in that state from having the opportunity to sign up for Obamacare. In other words, the constituent in those states did not even have the opportunity to take a look at it themselves and say, oh no, I don't want it. No. Why would they give you that option? Because if they gave you that option, you would find out for yourself that they were lying to you. They were using politics of fear, a scare tactic, and you probably would have signed up for it and protect your loved one from pre-existing condition reject by insurance company. So we know that Republican constituents, they're gullible, they're naive, and they are ignorant. Now we have a much bigger proof than what I just mentioned. When Donald Trump bid for the office of the presidency, you may not recall, I've been covering Donald Trump forever, even before he declared his intent as to run for the presidency of the United States. How did he make his announcement? First, consider that Donald Trump would not have picked the Democrat Party to run, he would have not picked to run under the Democrat Party. You know why? Because he would have not been accepted as a candidate, or he would have not gone anywhere. Well, maybe he could have run as an independent, but as a candidate, he would have not done well. So he went to the place where he knew that it was easy to convince individuals there, and he wasn't wrong. And how did he make his announcement? He used the exact same strategy as the Republican leaders. Now, when Republicans pretended to be outraged over Donald Trump calling Mexican rapists and so on and so forth, that was just for facade. That was just for show. But that's what Republicans have been doing. Republican leaders have been using the tactic of fear. That's what they've been doing for decades now. Because if you go as far back as you can, you would notice that everything, every policy, every legislation that they had to rely exclusively on fear, on scaring the constituent in order to get anywhere, because they don't have any other argument. To have an argument, you have to offer something better. When you don't have anything better to offer, then you have to scare the individual. And that's what Republican legislators, leaders, they're very good at it. And Donald Trump picked up on that. He launched his bid for the presidency of the United States by using the exact same strategy as the rest of the Republican Party, scaring the hell out of the country. When he's going to get rid of the rapists, the Mexican rapists, he's going to get rid of the Muslim terrorists, he's going to get rid of the criminal. A scare tactic. He didn't have anything to offer. He doesn't have anything that he can offer. So he borrowed a page from the Republican Party. The Republican leaders, governors, mayors, senators, congressmen, that's what they use as their strategy. They don't have anything to offer. It's always scaring the constituent away from someone, not here's something that's better than what's being offered to you. They cannot have that case because there is no case to have, because that's what you do when you have something better to offer. You present it, you explain it, you demonstrate it, and your audience should be smart enough to be able to pick the best one. But Republican leaders know they don't have anything better to offer. So they resort to the politics of fear. No, Donald Trump did not invent the politics of fear. Donald Trump did not introduce the politics of fear. It has been used by Republicans over and over and over for several decades now. And that spells crisis for America. Because think about it. You have a party. There is no one that can offer you anything better, but they can scare you away from somebody else. And that's their strategy. Because if they can scare you enough, which is a strategy that works, because they appeal to the worst aspect of a human being, this emotion, not something great to offer to you. It is something great we can offer. Obama offer you Obamacare, but we have this compared to Obama, and you find out ours is better. No, they don't have that. And that's the point. And when I say that Republican constituents are naive, gullible, and ignorant, yes, I get a lot of pushback from Republicans and say, how could you say that? Well, look in the mirror. What exactly, what did you get? Did you get anything offered to you by your Republican representative as an alternative to the Healthcare Act? No. The only thing they offer you is scare you away from it. But they didn't have anything to offer. Take any example of any particular aspect of the running of our country. Republicans scare you away from, but they don't have anything to offer as an alternative. So it works because the Republican constituents are gullible, naive, and ignorant. Now, not all of it is their fault, because they've been also drinking at the source where they cultivate ignorance. They nurture ignorance. Because, ironically, ignorance is a tool that's used by politicians to keep their job, used by places, organizations like Fox to make money. So it's good for all sides except for the country. So they rely exclusively, completely on the ignorance, the gullibility, and the naiveness of their constituent. And why do they do that? Well, it works. It has been working for decades now. So Republican leaders rely exclusively on that little strategy. And when Donald Trump bid for the office of the presidency, he used exactly that. Which means he exploited the weakness of the Republican constituent. He used the same strategy used by Republican leaders, but they, neither Donald Trump nor any of the Republican elected official or representative have anything better to offer. So their strategy, scare the constituent. Because if you're scared enough, you're not going to vote for that guy, you know, the Democrat, because you're scared. and now it shows. It shows in the Donald Trump world. Because today, if you talk to anyone who supports Donald Trump, you see in the Trump world, the devil, Robert Mueller, and the army of demons, you know, the Democrats. If it weren't for this evil camp, Donald Trump would have been the greatest president that the country has ever had. Well, Donald Trump said that himself. Would have been the greatest president. In their world, only those who believe in Saint Donald and swear not to speak or even think ill of him are allowed to speak at all. That's the Donald Trump world. That's what the Republican constituent look like today. A bunch of people who cannot even think for themselves, who cannot reason for themselves, who think they know when they actually live in a world that completely a made-up world of by one individual. Now, it's not completely their fault because the Republicans, legislators, those called Republican leaders, have been taking them to that path. Donald Trump simply grabbed them and take them the extra mile. So it's not something that just happened because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump simply took advantage of that and just take everybody with him and just jump. But Republican leaders, the so-called leaders, have been taking their constituent in the wrong path. They've been misleading them. They've been scaring them away. And Donald Trump simply exploits that. So yes, the United States of America is in a crisis. It was not created by Donald Trump. No, it was not. Donald Trump exploits it. The Republican leaders are solely, fully responsible for the crisis the United States of America is going through now. Now, granted that the Republican who always so eager to talk about core values, and I keep asking, what are those? Which core values are we talking about? Naming values doesn't do anything. The devil believes in Jesus. Does that make the devil a saint? Yes, Republicans like talking about core values. But by any analysis, they have none. They don't have any value, any principle. They simply love talking about it. They love label. That you have to give to them. They love label. They Christian conservative. They fiscally conservative. They this and that and the other. Take any example of any of those aspects and see their action. Yes, they love talking about it, but they have none of those values. And there is one organization that also exploit the ignorance of the Republicans. It's Fox. They strive on ignorance. In fact, they nurture it. They help keep it around because that's the only way for Fox Network to make money. People who are gullible, who are naive, who are ignorant ought to exist in order for Fox to continue to make money. Because once people start getting start becoming smarter, they automatically realize that they're getting dumber by watching Fox. Because all they're getting from Fox is a bunch of people who cannot even spell their own name properly, and those are the people that are giving them information. Yes, the Republicans have created an army of blissful ignorance.
In 1996, a small network by the name of Fox News was launched with just 17 million viewers. Today, with over 100 million people watching regularly, Fox has become the greatest threat to our democracy, constantly bombarding the airwaves with false information, distortion of facts, and outright lies presented to its audience as news. Fox has created an army of blissful ignorance. According to a survey, 82% of Fox viewers are ignorant of facts and the truth. To keep millions of people in ignorance not only prevents democracy from flourishing, but it also clears the path to authoritarianism, to dictatorship. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Let me finish by saying that democracy cannot survive in an environment where truth and facts do not matter. At Fox, truth and facts do not matter. Indeed, democracy in America is in jeopardy. It is a crisis the country can no longer ignore.
I hope you've enjoyed the program. If you have any question, suggestion, comments, criticism, do not hesitate to contact us. Please do forward us links, pictures, videos of scenarios of any type of situation in which you suspect police brutality, you suspect racism, discrimination. We are currently cataloging those incidences, and we are making certain that the conversation about race relation, we have contemporaneous proof, examples to show that our society has indeed institutionalized racism, and we ought to change that for the future generation. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful afternoon or evening, whichever it happened to be. I hope to see you again next time.
The Fourth Branch Podcast is brought to you in collaboration with the People Branch publication, which can be found on the People Branch website, located at peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org website, in which you will find a number of very interesting articles. My name is Mike Duchesne, MD for short. I hope you have a great afternoon or a great evening, whichever it happens to be. Hopefully you can join me again next time for another interesting episode of this podcast. That was the Fourth Branch. live from New York. Good day.